Here we are then, it is time for me to react to my 2022 season predictions. This is going to be a bit of a funny video for some and a very painful video for me, I can tell you that right now. On the screen, I'm going to be putting up the standings for the drivers. I'm going to do it 5 at a time to kind of give a bit of suspense. And then also I'm going to be doing, in terms of the difference of where I predicted each of the drivers to finish. Now, periodically for some of the drivers that I got either exactly right or horrifically wrong, I am also going to be reacting to actually what I said in my actual predictions video. Now, I'm not going to be reacting to what I said through, for that entire video because it was 29 minutes long. So yeah, I am definitely not going to, I'm not going to sit through that. And don't worry, next year's predictions video is going to be shorter, I promise you. But yeah, for some of the highlight drivers, I want to kind of react to what I said almost a year ago. So let's get into it. Here we are then, beginning with the first 5, and from 20th to 16th, we had Nicholas Latifi, Alex Albon, Zhou Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, and Mick Schumacher. Now, the way I kind of look at these predictions, if you're like 1 place or even 2 places kind of away from where, if the drivers are 1 or 2 places away from where I predicted them, I think that's not too bad. But when you get to the 3, 4, 5, 6, or even 7, as you can see, that is a shocker, let's be honest. So yeah, in terms of Latifi and Zhou, and obviously Tsunoda and Schumacher, not too far away from some of them. I kind of thought that the Williams car would have been a little bit better. So yeah, I got that wrong. I put the Williams drivers a little bit higher than where they actually finished. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about Alex Albon. He finished 7 places lower than where I predicted. And yeah, let's take a listen to why I predicted Albon to finish all the way up in 12th when he in fact finished down in 19th. So yeah, let's take a listen. Now, this is probably my biggest out there prediction. I think Alex is going to have a very good season. I think the way it ended at the end of 2020, it obviously wasn't great, but what's really interesting is that there is a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Let's not get it twisted, because Williams have not picked him up to be a comfortable number 2. They haven't picked him up to kind of support Nicholas Latifi. They have picked him up because they need to replace a driver of a caliber of George Russell, and Alex Albon is the team's number 1 driver. He needs to deliver for the team. He needs to beat Nicholas Latifi. Well, at least he did that. At least he beat Latifi.
Really big results on the table if, the circumstances arise, if it's a crazy race. Alex Albon needs to deliver, and I think Williams as a team are also going to get better. So yeah, this is probably my biggest kind of out there prediction, but yeah, I have got Alex Albon to have a pretty decent comeback season in 2022.
I mean, to be fair, I do think that Alex, and I'm kind of trying to defend my moves here. To be fair, I do think that Alex had a good comeback season. I feel, again, I put too much emphasis on Williams. I really thought they were going to take a jump up, and I don't think I said I don't think I predicted Alex in terms of his individual performances that badly. I do think he had a good comeback season. He thoroughly washed Nicholas Latifi, and I actually think that the strange thing is him only finishing just above his teammate and behind everyone else. I actually don't think it kind of represents the level of dominance and the season that he really had. I really thought Alex had a great comeback, as I predicted him to have. But when you do these predictions, and let's not forget that, when you do predictions for a brand new regulation period, you can always throw in a few kind of crazy predictions. And yeah, Alex Albon to finish all the way up, whether I have him in 12th place, that was kind of my shot in the dark. And ultimately, when you get it right, you kind of look like a genius. And yeah, when you get it wrong like I did, you look like a bit of an idiot. So yeah, Albon in 12th, that was my big prediction. That was kind of my out there prediction, and ultimately it didn't pay off. But again, I think Albon actually had a really good season. But yeah, Williams definitely under-delivered compared to where I thought they were going to be. So let's move on to the next 5, from 15th all the way to 11th, and we have Lance Stroll, we have Pierre Gasly, we had obviously Kevin Magnussen, who obviously I didn't know was going to be part of the 2022 season before it even kicked off. We have Sebastian Vettel, and then we have, just outside of the top 10, we have Daniel Ricciardo. Now, for the most part, I am not too kind of... Again, I didn't get anyone bang on, but again, Lance Stroll finished 1 place lower than where I predicted him to finish. That is exactly the same for Pierre Gasly, also for Sebastian Vettel. So I was super close on those drivers, just didn't quite get the positions right. And even Daniel Ricciardo, I didn't exactly expect him to have a stunning season. I mean, I did expect him to finish a little bit better, and he actually finished 2 places lower than where I predicted him. But I'm not too mad at that. You know, again, nothing perfect, which is always annoying. You want to get things right. But for the most part, I thought that kind of lower midfield was going to be with the likes of, you know, the Aston Martin drivers and also with the likes of the AlphaTauri drivers. So yeah, I'm not too mad at that. Although, again, annoying not to get any of those right. Let's move on to the next 5, and that is from 10th all the way up to 6th. In 10th place, we have Valtteri Bottas. In 9th, we have Fernando Alonso. In 8th, we have Esteban Ocon. In 7th, and best of the rest, we have Lando Norris. And then in 6th, we have Lewis Hamilton. Now, this is where this is very mixed. So finally, the first one that I got bang on right, Lando Norris. We're going to get to him in just a second, but the big one that just jumps off the page is Valtteri Bottas. He massively exceeded my expectations, and again, we're going to listen to what I said at the beginning of the year. He finished 6th, he finished 6 places higher than where I predicted him. I predicted Valtteri to finish in 16th, and he managed to finish in 10th, get into the top 10. So yeah, a great season by Valtteri. I was definitely wrong with that one. So let's take a listen to what I said at the beginning of the season and why I predicted Valtteri to finish in 16th.
It's all about Alfa Romeo, isn't it? Because genuinely, I do
Alfa
think that,
Romeo,
if
thank
I'm wrong
goodness.
about this, by
Saved
the way,
myself a little bit
Alfa
there.
Romeo produced one of the best cars in the midfield, maybe even the 5th or 6th fastest car. I think we're going to see
did at the beginning of the
Bottas
season.
on the podium, and to be honest,
A podium?
I wouldn't even be
Oh, no.
surprised if we saw him as a surprise kind of podium sitter. You know, we see kind of these random midfield podiums happen all the time, even last year. And Valtteri Bottas, without the pressure of Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton being his teammate, his own team, Alfa Romeo, I think he could have a very good season, and we could see the
he did
Bottas
have
of
a pretty good
2017
season at the beginning,
and the
to be fair.
Bottas of the Williams years as well, because he is a quality driver. It's just obviously driving for Mercedes that comes with a different type of pressure, but I can't wait to see what Valtteri can do without that pressure and just on his own raw talent in that midfield. But I just don't think that Alfa Romeo are going to be the team to smash these 2022 regs.
So, again, interesting. I never put it down to Valtteri. I kind of said, again, even in my predictions, I said that I do think that Valtteri in his own environment could have a mega season. But again, when it comes to the most difficult thing to judge, I think, again, I don't think I got it massively wrong with Valtteri's level. I did think that in his own environment, he would be a great driver. And I do think he had a really good season. I mean, obviously, he had a great season, you know, finishing in the top 10. But I think it was Alfa Romeo. Again, just as I kind of thought, just as I overestimated where I thought Williams as a team and the car that they were going to be able to produce and give to their drivers, I kind of underestimated what Alfa Romeo were going to be able to give to their 2 drivers. And Alfa Romeo were a weird team in terms of, like, in the first half of the season, I do think that they had arguably the 5th, maybe 6th kind of best car on the grid, maybe just behind the Alpine, but they dropped off. I mean, they dropped off a cliff, let's be honest. They weren't able to develop the car as well throughout the season, and they got left behind by the likes of Alpine, McLaren, and even Aston Martin. So, yeah, again, 6 places. Valtteri finished 6 places better than where I predicted, and I didn't kind of see that Alfa Romeo were going to be able to produce that good of a car. In terms of the rest of those drivers, again, when it comes to that kind of upper midfield, I did kind of predict that it was going to be a battle between Alpine and McLaren and kind of Norris, Ocon and Alonso kind of on a similar level, kind of battling for similar positions. So again, you know, Fernando Alonso, he ended up finishing 1 place lower than where I predicted him, and Esteban Ocon finished 2 places higher than where I predicted him. But finally, the first one that I got absolutely bang on right, Lando Norris. He finished best of the rest in 7th, exactly where I predicted him to finish. And yeah, I am buzzing with that one because, spoiler alert, that is the only correct prediction that I had. So yeah, let's take a listen to what I had to say about Lando Norris and why I predicted him to finish where he did at the beginning of the season.
In 7th place, I have got Lando Norris in what I'm going to call the unofficial best of the rest place.
And he did best of the
I
rest.
think there's going to be another team that races in red that's going to jump ahead of McLaren quite comfortably. And that's why I think that Lando Norris is going to be kind of the unofficial best of the rest. There's definitely going to be podiums. And I really do pray and hope that we're going to see Lando Norris finally get his first ever win in Formula 1. He's got the quality speed, and I think
he didn't quite get his first win
when he is put in the right position. position. I think he's going to learn from some of the mistakes, like, of course, perhaps, him and the team working a little bit better than what they did in Russia in 2021. But yeah, I think Lando Norris, I think it's just McLaren that are not quite ready just yet to make that jump up to still be, or, be again title and race winning contenders. But I think Lando Norris is still going to be the leader of that team. I still think that he does need to beat Daniel Ricciardo though, because I think he put himself in 2021 in that conversation of future world champions, and certainly I think that Lando is going to be a future world champion, but now he needs to build on it. He needs to beat Ricciardo again, and he needs to prove once again that McLaren is his team and he is McLaren's champion of the future.
So again, with Lando, he was the only one that I got bang on right. And again, I even predicted that I did really think that Ferrari were going to make that jump up, and we'll get to Ferrari in a little bit. But I thought Lando would finish best of the rest, because I think going off the back of 2021, he had a mega season. And I think in 2022, even though the car was not as good as last year, I think he's had an even better season in terms of the lack of mistakes, the consistency, and also the way he beat Daniel Ricciardo. So yeah, a bit of a mixed one. And then also, I haven't talked about yet, in 6th, Lewis Hamilton. Now, I actually predicted him to finish 4 places higher. He actually finished 4 places lower than where I predicted. And yeah, we'll kind of get to that in a little bit, but that was a bad prediction as well. I thought Lewis and Mercedes were going to be a lot stronger. And yeah, unfortunately, it didn't quite work out like that. But let's get into the top 5 then. Obviously, we know who the top 5 finished in 2022, but how far off was I? So obviously in 5th, we had Carlos Sainz. In 4th, we have George Russell. And then in terms of the top 3, we had Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc, and Max Verstappen. Now, again, with the likes of Sainz, Russell, Leclerc, I'm not too far away from all of those, but let's talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. The 2022 world champion, Max Verstappen, he finished 4 places higher than where I predicted. I had Max Verstappen finishing in 5th, and he ended up winning the championship. Oh my god. To be honest, that's even worse than the Albon prediction, to be brutally honest. But yeah, let's rewind and see what crazy Aldas, why he predicted Max Verstappen to finish in 5th. Oh boy, right, let's take a listen to this.
To be brutally honest, kind of similar to what I said about Pierre Gasly, this has nothing to do with Max. I just think that with how much
at least
Red
it had
Bull
nothing to
put
do with Max
into 2021, I think that might hamper them in 2022, and I think other teams are going to take a bigger jump up. I think we're going to see almost the Red Bull of 2018, 2019, and 2020, where I think they're going to start the season off just a little bit behind the teams ahead of them, but by the end of the season, they're going to develop and be right up there and kind of fighting for race wins, maybe even on a regular basis. But that's why I just think that Max is not going to have the equipment. I have no doubt in Max Verstappen. The guy is arguably the best driver on the grid now looking at 2021, but I honestly don't think he's going to be given the equipment from day one in Bahrain to do the job. But I do think that the car is going to get better as the season progresses. But yeah, I have got, controversially no doubt, Max Verstappen in 5th place.
Oh my god. So again, to be honest, I don't know how I feel about that prediction. Max Verstappen, again, I predicted him in 5th. He ended up winning the championship. I did say there that I just think that the Red Bull, I keep getting done by the teams. I either have like too much faith in some of these teams or not enough. And I really did think that, again, I thought Ferrari would be the team to make that jump up. And obviously I predicted, you might be able to see, I predicted Leclerc as the world champion, who we'll talk about in a bit. But I had no doubts about Max Verstappen. I knew that whatever car Red Bull were going to give him, he would get 110% out of it, and he definitely did in 2022. But yeah, I mean, Red Bull just gave Max a much better car than I gave him credit for. I did kind of get right the fact that, at the beginning of the season, it did look like the Red Bull wasn't quite on the level of the Ferrari, and they did develop really well throughout the season. I mean, they went from a fairly kind of similar car to Ferrari, and it was kind of like track to track who was going to be better, to building a dominant car by the end of the season. And that's actually been kind of the recent history of Red Bull, where sometimes they start like a little bit just behind the Mercedes in like 2018 and 2019 and 2020. But by the end, they have a pretty strong car that kind of can fight for wins. So yeah, I was a little bit off with my Red Bull prediction, and obviously didn't give enough credit to now the 2-time Formula 1 world champion, Max Verstappen. Am I going to learn my lesson for 2023? You're going to have to wait and find out. But looking at the rest of my top 5, again, The one that really kind of sticks out is the guy who I had as my 2022 champion, and that was Charles Leclerc. Obviously, he finished, I mean, not too bad, I suppose. I predicted him to be the world champion, and he finished in second. Luckily, I didn't predict any points because, yeah, the gap between him and Max was unbelievably massive by the end of the season. But yeah, let's take a listen in terms of why I had Charles Leclerc as my 2022 world champion.
Now, why do I have Leclerc as my 2022
Yes, why do you
world
have
champion?
it, Aldous?
Well, first of all, it all starts with the car because that is the most important part. If you're not given the equipment to do the job, then you're never going to be up there, basically. I think Ferrari are going to get it right. I don't think their car is going to be dominant or going to be miles and miles out front.
I mean, Ferrari did kind of get it right.
And Red Bull, but I think Charles is going to get the equipment to do the job. And I think when he is given a car that can actually win races on a consistent basis, even more than in 2019, I think he's going to cut out and really grow as a driver. He's going to cut out some of those mistakes because he is a driver that just drives 110% all of the time. And it really frustrates me because sometimes he makes these mistakes with where he is as a driver. With the car that hopefully he will be given, I think he is going to be the 2022 Drivers' Champion and the first Ferrari champion since Kimi Räikkönen in 2007.
Oh boy, well, no, Leclerc was not the 2022 world champion, and he was not the first Ferrari drivers champion since Kimi Räikkönen in 2007, but maybe next year. Yeah, again, it's not a great, I got it wrong, fair enough. Obviously I predicted Leclerc to be the world champion. The one thing that I will actually kind of defend myself, and again, the Verstappen, Verstappen in 5th and him finishing 4 places higher than I thought he was going to finish, that's the big L. But the one place I will defend myself is that I predicted Ferrari in this new generation or in this brand new regulation period, I predicted them to go back to being race winners. And that's not always a given. Like, let's not forget last year, yeah, they were top of the midfield, but, putting Leclerc as my champion, that could have easily, Leclerc could have easily finished as best of the rest if they only gave him a midfield car. He could have just as easily finished in like 8th or 9th, and that would have been an even worse prediction than, putting Max in 5th. So I predicted Ferrari to, at the very least, go back to at least winning races on a semi-regular period. And again, when you look at where they were last year compared to McLaren, you could have easily just said that actually it would have been McLaren to kind of, be that team to go back to the top of challenging Mercedes and Red Bull. So again, to kind of defend my reasoning, I think Ferrari did take that jump up. Again, I never thought they were going to have a dominant car, but I thought they would go back to winning races, and they have. But yeah, I gave perhaps Ferrari a little bit too much credit, or not. I think I haven't given Red Bull enough credit, and that's been a really big surprise for me. The fact that, again, off the back of winning a world championship, Red Bull not only kind of maintained that level, they went to another level, giving their drivers a dominant car, and that's obviously what we've seen from Max Verstappen. And ultimately, although Ferrari were able to kind of fight for that title at the beginning of the year, very, very quickly, not only did they bottle it, but also then Leclerc kind of struggled to maintain that level as he was kind of fighting an uphill battle. And ultimately, yeah, that was my big prediction, Leclerc as the 2022 world champion. And yeah, it didn't quite work out, unfortunately. But again, as I said for Max, is Leclerc going to be my is Leclerc going to be my prediction for the 2023 drivers champion? You're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, overall, out of all of the 20 drivers, or 19 technically, because obviously the whole, K-Mag and Nikita Mazepin thing, only one right, and that is Lando Norris in 7th. Yeah, not a great year for me in terms of predictions, but again, it's what it's all about. It's about having fun. A few crazy predictions in there. Albon up in 12th. I thought he was going to have an absolute banger, and Leclerc and Ferrari as the world champions. It didn't quite work out, but at least I don't go home empty-handed. I got Lando Norris to finish in P7. Yeah, I'm looking much like some of the midfield teams and much like Ferrari themselves. I'm looking for a stronger season and a stronger performance in 2023. But yeah, there you have it. Let me know. Tell me all of your opinions about how bad my predictions were, because yeah, there were some definite shockers in there. Max Verstappen in P5. Alex Albon in P12. Yeah, let me know all of your thoughts about my predictions in the comments box below. And we are actually not that far away. I mean, I'm going to be doing it probably early in 2023. My actual predictions for the 2023 season. So yeah, can't wait to sink my teeth and get that video out for you early in 2023. Anyway, there you have it. I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, then don't forget to drop it a like and smash that subscribe button. That would be massively appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one.